Hi, this is Nathan. Welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Oh, hi there. Welcome to the pod. I'm Dylan James Weaver, but most folks around here just call me Dylan. Why don't you get the whole family together and join us for another exciting episode of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. We need teaser audio, so maybe that's it this week.
That's it.
It's my first note. Is like, do we
ASMR?
need to put teaser audio in still?
I
How
don't
does
know.
this work?
I mean, in this era of Odyssey, there's a lot of teasers, and I like them.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are back again this week talking about episode 264, Making the Grade.
Yeah, this episode.
Pretty good.
We'll get into it.
It's an episode that first aired April 16th of 1994, which was 2 weeks after the episode we covered last week.
Mm-hmm.
It is once again written and directed by Paul McCusker.
Mm-hmm.
It was track 3 on album 20, A Journey of Choices.
Yeah, this, Paul McCusker's hand shows... Paul McCusker, is he the one that... No, Phil Lawler made 321 Penguins?
Yes.
Okay. Was Paul McCusker involved in VeggieTales?
No.
This feels like a very VeggieTales episode to me.
It does kind of feel VeggieTales-y. That's fair.
I mean, it's probably just because the moral is just kind of like, open
Right.
up your mouth.
Right. It is an episode with a very, like, it's a very clean episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, here is the point we are trying to make. It is, it feels, I think it feels like child's television a bit because it also doesn't feel overly Christian.
No.
Like,
it's
they
not,
obviously make some points
It's
lightly
like
about...
PBS kind of.
Right, yeah, exactly. It feels like,
An
an
Arthur
episode
episode.
of like a kid's TV show. And I liked it.
And I liked it. I mean, I like watching kids' TV as it is.
You know what this is? This is an episode of Arthur.
That's what I was saying. It feels very much like an episode of Arthur.
Yeah. You remove like the one time they
Having
talk-
fun isn't hard when you put effort into being in school because it will help you in life.
Amen.
Were you ever like that as a kid?
What?
Like you just didn't care about school?
No, not really.
Yeah, me neither.
I felt too much
Pressure.
pressure to be good
Yep.
that like, yeah.
Well, and you're like a naturally pretty smart person, so like
Yeah.
it wasn't like it.
I think
took,
I faked it better. Like I think I acted smarter than I was for a long time.
well,
But like
we all?
especially
some
in
of us
like
still do.
especially when you're like pre-college and stuff, like being smart is so much more like an attitude.
Yeah.
Like there are obviously degrees, but you can also like I going from like middle level classes to high level classes is just being like, "Oh yes, I would like to work more."
No, essentially. Well, and for me, it was like the thing that made me feel like a smart person was because I was just passively interested in stuff that people thought of as smart. I was like, oh, he's so smart. I'm like, nah, I just kind of like art, dude. Like, I don't know. I didn't think of it really as school. And like the stuff that I was into, I wasn't into it because it was school.
Right.
Anyway, this episode.
Yeah, so cast-wise, the beginning skit with the Destructo agent, that agent is voiced by Marshall Younger, longtime voice and producer and whatnot on Odyssey. So that just makes sense.
Yeah.
We have Gabriel Encarnacion as Lawrence Hodges, who is always the voice of Lawrence.
Yep.
But also, we talked about him previously when we talked about Chains Part 2, because he was Steve, who is a member of the Brothers.
Chains Part 2.
This is
Novacom.
Yeah, Novacom. This is the gang in Connellsville that Tony is a part of. All of the gang members were child voice actors in Odyssey
that had just grown up.
Right.
And Lawrence Hodges was one of them. Did we talk about this when we covered the episode?
Well, it wasn't Lawrence. The character wasn't one of the brothers.
No, I know, but did we talk about the fact that was?
Yeah, I think so.
Actor? Okay.
We also Maureen Hodges, Lawrence's mom. Was voiced by Janet Waldo. Do you have a guess at who else she voices in the show?
In Odyssey?
Yeah. As soon as I say it, you're gonna be like, don't cheat.
No, I don't. I'm not gonna check. I'm just trying to see the name if I can recognize it. No. Is that cheating?
I think that is. I was just saying the name is Janet Waldo. I already said it.
Yeah.
It's fine if you don't.
No, I don't. No clue.
It's Joanne.
Oh my god.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, as soon as I say this, Andrew would be like, oh yes, of course.
Sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain and whatnot, but wow.
Yep.
Hit me upside the head with that one.
We also have John Nisbet voicing paramedic Steve Isaacs.
The jerk paramedic.
Yeah. This is the only credit John Nisbet has on Adventures in Odyssey. He has 3 credits on IMDb, and one of them is being a bartender in the Jackie Chan movie The Protector.
Huh.
So
maybe they just thought he was too mean. Like they were like, nah, bro, you're way too into assaulting this child.
Fair enough.
You can't verbally, not physically.
Yeah. And we also have AJ James as Mrs. Henderson, the guidance counselor. Our other favorite character of this episode.
Oh yeah. You see why I'm like, this episode, meh.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It has good moments, but it also
yeah, I have issues.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
The other thing that is super interesting, and we will track as we go through this episode, I'm sure, is this episode was recorded after Hal Smith's passing. Mm-hmm. Both George's and Maureen, so Jimmy's dad, Lawrence's mom, those parts were, for the most part, intended for Whit and were rewritten.
So, wow, okay.
So it would have all of the conversations about discipline would not have been coming from their parents, but would have been coming from, like, Lawrence and Jimmy sitting at the soda fountain at Whit's End.
That makes a lot of sense, and is also, I'm kind of glad that they gave the parents the opportunity to be good parents.
This is exactly it for me. Once you hear that, you can see some of the instances in which you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because like Lawrence feels like he's in, like, his connection to the rest of the story is so tenuous.
Yeah.
That it then makes more sense when you're like, oh, they were supposed to be like hanging out at Whit's End, having these conversations together with Whit. Yeah. And instead they're like having it with their own parents.
They have one conversation together, essentially.
I think they have 2.
Yeah, one in the beginning and one later.
But right, it's really weak connections.
Yeah.
All right. Let's roll the promo.
Yeah.
Coming up on Adventures in Odyssey, Lawrence and Jimmy think they can choose whatever they want in life. But do they have a lot to learn? It's a day of surprises for Jimmy Barkley when he suddenly discovers that your grades today will affect your choices for tomorrow. Can Lawrence learn this important lesson before it's too late? Find out next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
Wow, that was delightful.
I loved that so much.
Your choices today will affect your choices tomorrow.
Interestingly, this album is called A Journey of Choices.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's
good promo. I love the music.
Great promo. I mean, coming off of Rydell Saga, where it's just like, wow, I get it. It's advertising and it's all the same. And now we get this. I mean, this is like a dance track.
I know, like, I want to understand, do they compose new music for every one of these? Do they just have like a bank of like royalty-free music that they're pulling from? Yeah. Like, I want to understand. So the episode starts with Lawrence fighting, Destructo's.
It's something
real
rather.
fun.
Yeah. I mean,
He makes
it's his fantasy.
Yeah. He makes but I like the way that Odyssey brings it to life.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's so fun.
So good. Well, it's classic that era of Odyssey where
Right.
it's like we can make children's imaginations sound so real that it makes kids excited for that. I like that part of it.
Yeah, no, fully. And like the fact that they do such a nice transition from like his room getting busted into by Destructos to it being like his mom.
Yeah, it's
knocking,
super Calvin and Hobbes.
Like, yeah.
bro.
Yeah, it is.
I
Good
love
call.
it. Yeah.
And like him taking this invisibility potion, which he flavored with cinnamon, which
which
is
is
like
really
of all
funny.
the flavors, you
Vanilla.
chose cinnamon?
Yeah, and in your fantasy world, I mean, maybe he's just like really into hot tamales or something like that. But,
Yeah, I don't know. And so his
Lawrence
invisibility is him hiding in his closet.
Notorious cinnamon addict.
Yeah. And so yeah, then his mom comes in and pulls him out of the closet and is like, you can't go to Jimmy's party until you finish your homework. And this is once again where you're like, oh, this episode was rewritten late in the game. Because we then cut to Jimmy's party, which is like them celebrating George's like getting a job. It's him having eating the chocolate cake and then being, and I don't know. It doesn't make any sense that Lawrence would be there.
Yeah.
Like there's that little scene where Mary's like,
it's
Lawrence
like
can't make it.
Like bridal shower.
It's
not
bridal shower.
bridal shower.
It's not a baby shower
It's not a
either.
baby
Like,
shower,
the
yeah.
thing is, it's just their family, and they're having cake, so I guess that makes it a party. But like Lawrence, I don't understand why Lawrence was invited.
Lawrence and Jimmy are super close friends, and I guess this is a big deal, but it's very loose.
It just feels like, oh, this was a rewrite.
This was a last second pivot.
So the dinner here is George has been accepted into seminary.
Yep.
Has a part-time job at the church.
Yep.
Mary
Great news.
is pregnant. I mean,
congratulations, party.
Yep. Jimmy makes a toast.
Yeah.
Which George finishes by saying, but just like kind of throwing in and thanks God too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, okay. Now is we don't have to get into it, but now is when I want to introduce my least favorite motif of this episode, which is just making fun of pregnant women.
Yes. Oh my word. The Paul McCusker, a man, roasts women for being pregnant. Because women, they be pregnant.
Women, and then they just eat all the craziest stuff. Isn't that hilarious? Like, I don't know, man. I've been around a lot of pregnant women, and also, I get it that not everybody's the same. I think you could do more with that. I mean, I've seen so many shows do pregnant jokes better than that.
This is the thing. It's a first draft joke.
Yeah.
It's not funny, and it also, like,
it's just
hearing
mildly
it
offensive now.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was not thrilled with this.
And they just keep doing it. They just milk it like the cow.
I know.
Oh
it comes up like 3 or 4 times this episode, and it's just the whole family
and they just
trashing Mary.
And they'll take good scenes, and then they'll throw a joke about her being pregnant at the end of it, and it just ruins it.
I know. It is by far and away the worst part of this episode. Yet there are still parts of this episode I will not like, and we will talk about them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we will. I mean, no. And the thing is, as much as there is to say, I don't think it's bad. Right? I think that in my head, this is like a solid 75%. You know? Like if the best Odyssey, if 100% is a perfect episode, not a single wasted.
Yeah, no.
A 75, maybe even an 80.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I like it. That's kind of where it ends.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how much
there are some real good moments and scenes. The broad strokes are not bad. There's also pregnancy jokes.
Yep.
And
verbally abusive paramedics.
yeah.
Yeah, so we get the party scene with Mary wanting to eat all of the things, and it's like, aha, she wants to put pickles on her cake, and then there's a scene later where there's caramel corn and mashed potatoes or something like that. And
Yeah, but I don't even want to address any of the combinations. Just know that they're bad.
Yeah.
It's a weak joke, and
Yeah.
it bugs me.
Yeah.
And now we can stop talking about it, baby.
Yep, we're done. We're done talking about it.
I think the point's been made. We're just not going to acknowledge it again. So,
Just denial.
so yeah.
But the problem is that's like how they transition.
I know. I know. We then jump to Jimmy sitting outside at night.
Yep. Stargazing,
Sure.
thinking about life, and then his dad walks up and is like, "So, son, what are you thinking about?"
Yeah. And he's thinking about the fact that career day is tomorrow, and he doesn't know what to do with his life. And I'm like, boy, is that relatable.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, like I knew that career day was coming up, but I figured it was just like an aptitude test or something. Then I found out like yesterday or today, like we're really supposed to like come in with something we want to do. And like I feel like, I don't know, maybe like paramedic, but also that thing of just like not wanting to put words to it, because then immediately you're inviting everyone else's judgment, and also you don't have that strong convictions because you are in middle school.
Yeah. Is he in middle school or high school? Do they do
Maybe he's a freshman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was thinking
like-
he's either in 7th or 9th grade, I feel like. I mean, I suppose 8th could be there, but you know.
Yeah. The big question of can Donna
Drive.
No, she can't. We just established that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No, that was in the visit. No, that was last episode. Last
Yeah.
episode, we established that she cannot drive, that she was looking to get that car. So she's 15 or 16, which makes her a sophomore or junior.
Which means
Jimmy's got to be middle school,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean,
7th or 8th
maybe
grade.
he's a freshman.
No, I think
But
I'm thinking 8th grade
yeah.
is the oldest.
That's kind of
Which
what I
again is insane that this guy would verbally accost an 8th grader.
Yeah, but like, also, I don't know.
But also, like, you
we
have
had
to-
to do
yeah.
so much stupid career stuff in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't seem that ridiculous.
And I never had to do that.
Because you were homeschooled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just felt
You
very
and most of our
ill-equipped.
listeners.
Yeah. I just felt very ill-equipped. Really, all of my job stuff was just actually working jobs and then
Right.
figuring it out. So
Yeah.
I guess that's better, but I still wasted a whole semester. So
Yeah. Whatever. You know, I don't know that I was any better equipped for college.
no, yeah.
Yeah, just that thing of like, especially, I feel like 8th grade was a big thing because it was like, well, you've got to select your courses for high school.
Yeah.
And for some reason, your high school courses should be like
Your
in
life
the
goals?
direction that you want your life to go, which
Yeah.
is just like, no, just take stuff that's interesting and fun.
Yeah.
It's high school.
Yeah, that's
But
what
like,
it's for.
and that's what the counselor says here, and that's basically what I got as well. And so like, yeah, it does feel like, I'll give Jimmy 8th grade.
Although no, I was in high school was very much that where you have to take courses to take courses, you know, if that makes sense. Like I took algebra 2 so I could take pre-calc because I didn't want to take that in college without having taken it in high school before because somebody told me that like
Yeah.
ay.
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot of smart courses for similar reasons, but also just like for like core subjects and stuff, it was a very easy, like, these are the steps forward.
Yeah.
For electives and stuff, it was like, find something that relates to what you want to do with your life. And I was like, okay, I am an 8th grader. I guess I'm taking an engineering course freshman year. That seems like the right thing to do.
Yep.
And like,
'cause
I
we've
had a
gotta
really good
fill
time in
up
that course.
8 hours a
but-
day.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's a whole other can of worms.
What, you think school takes too much time?
Yeah, I mean, it did for me. Granted, now it might not take up enough time. Funny how my brain works, you know?
But Andrew, if you had more school, you wouldn't be able to do this podcast.
That is true. If
Have you ever done anything more fulfilling in your life than this podcast?
I can't. I had some really, really, really good pasta in Italy. Like we went to a wine tasting and it was really good, bro. That was a lot of fulfillment there.
So yeah. His whole thing, his whole motivation behind the paramedic thing is just like he wants to help.
Yeah, he wants to help people, which is really cool, and it makes a lot of sense considering what we know about his dad. Mm-hmm. Really cool. I really like that. The family dynamic, obviously we've talked about the Barkley family dynamic before, but it's so good this episode.
Yeah. Then we jump to a scene, it's the scene between Jimmy and Lawrence.
Yeah, and this is where, what is...
Lawrence wants to work for the NSA or the FBI.
Yeah, Lawrence... No. So, Lawrence just shows up after the party's over.
Yeah, or it might be the next day?
No, because George is still there.
Okay. So he
Mr.
just shows
Barkley,
up there, like, after dark.
Yeah. Just randomly.
Yeah. It's right. It's you can tell this episode was rewritten late in the game.
Yep.
We don't need to keep saying that, but it is. It does come through.
No, and I didn't realize that until you told me that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it when I was listening to the episode. I read about it afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
My notes are making a lot more sense.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to be an NSA agent, which I was like, oh, man, you should spend more time with Whit.
Yeah, or an FBI agent, or a double agent for both.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
How do you feel about Lawrence as a character? Because I don't think we've talked about him much.
He's not compelling.
No.
But he's kind of fun to have around.
Yeah, he was fun.
He feels like he is Jimmy's younger cousin, who he's obligated to hang out with, and yet they are not related.
No,
they're just friends.
Yeah, they're just friends.
I guess he is the precursor to what we get with like Jared.
Yeah.
Or he's even like kind of like Cal. The Cal-Alex relationship in which they are cousins and Cal is a nut job, but you get why they hang out together because they're cousins, feels like what this should be.
My thought was that they were like neighbors because like growing up, my best friend was like 4 or 5 years older than me, and we were just best friends because we lived close to each other.
Yeah, you're right. And yeah, Lawrence is definitely younger than Jimmy. Mm-hmm. They make that pretty clear in this episode when Jimmy offers to tutor him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird relationship.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have that conversation, and then we get Jimmy be like going to the career counselor, right? Isn't that the next scene?
Oh, well, there's one last part of this scene that I want to hit on because I think it's fun and also kind of touching in a way I wasn't expecting.
It's a very good George Barkley epising.
Oh,
I will say.
This isn't even George. This is Lawrence.
Oh.
Where Jimmy says like, Jimmy says to Lawrence that he wants to be a paramedic, and Lawrence is like, oh yeah, cool, and Jimmy's like, you don't know what a paramedic is, do you?
Yeah.
And Lawrence is like, no, but if that's what you want to be, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude,
that's so cute.
I want everyone to have that attitude. That's awesome.
Go for it.
You know how much less conflict we would have if people could just respond like that?
If parents did that to their kids, if they were like, wow, I made you, and you want to do that? Okay. Are you hurting yourself?
Right.
Are you hurting other people? Go with my blessing.
Yeah. It's great. And so, yeah, then we jump to the scene with the counselor.
Yeah, which, okay, I actually had to learn a ton about school counseling, and for one of my counseling classes. It's very interesting. So it's the only, of like the counseling professions, it's the only one that doesn't require a master's. Yeah, there's no real benefit to being certified as a school. Like there's no, like LPC or whatever.
Gotcha.
equivalent. And it really shows here. Because it's pretty much just her being like, so what are you going to do with your life?
Right.
What do you want to do with your life? We're just going to go over your grades in front of you and traumatize you. And then we're going to ask you what you want to do with your life.
The thing with school counselors that is just, I don't know, is weird, and like having gone through the school system, like I get to experience it, but like they're a college advisor.
Yeah.
But they also are like emotional support.
Yes.
And in some instances are responsible for discipline.
Yeah, no, because they're essentially, school counselors function as like social workers within the school. So school counselors often function to coordinate family needs with school needs, so school lunches, things like that. School breakfasts if they're below the poverty line, all that good stuff.
Like when I was in middle school, the counselors were like the people who you got disciplined from.
You didn't get disciplined from the principal or anything?
Not in middle school. At high school, assistant principals handle disciplinary stuff.
Yeah.
But like it was a weird thing where it's like counselors, it's like, hey, this is who you go to if you're having emotional issues, and also who you go to if you're gonna get beat up. Like,
yeah, that's probably a complicated relationship and explains a lot of the burnout rate in that profession that I learned about. Hey, God bless anybody who's a school counselor. You are doing the Lord's work.
Mm-hmm. Unless you're this school counselor, in which
then
case...
you are doing quite possibly the opposite of the Lord's work.
It's just
you're scaring children.
yeah. I mean, she's not as scary as the paramedic.
No.
But yeah, so Jimmy's like, yeah, I want to be a paramedic, and the counselor's like, okay, cool, let me put that into a computer and I'll match it, cross-reference it with all your grades, and we'll degrade you because of it.
Yeah, basically. The thing is, like, you look at everything you're bad at and then just be better at it so you can do the thing that you want to do.
Right. Well, and also this element of like, you're going to, like, we want you to choose your future courses so that they like align with this career path. And I'm like, boy, oh boy, do I hate that in middle school.
Yeah.
That is the way college works. I don't want that to be the way high school works.
No, high school should be not that at all, honestly. It's so frustrating. Or senior year, with the exception of senior year. I think senior year, you're allowed to, or like junior year, sit them down, scare them straight, and be like, hey man, this is what you've done so far. Great, awesome. What do you want to do? Do you want to get internships? Do you want to do other things? Like, I know that that's probably how they do things, but it's the whole culture of just prepping you to college and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's just...
It is, yeah. It's a tough cultural thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I feel like America is pretty lax, too. Like, comparatively to other cultures.
Right, yeah. Like, a lot of places, especially in Europe, like, you get into that career track when you're, like, 15 or 16.
Yeah. Or even, like... I mean, I think of, like, you know... culturally, the pressures from certain, ethnic groups to be certain roles.
Oh,
where
sure.
It's like, you're Indian, you've got to be a doctor, whatever. Like, that, I don't know. I've heard a lot of Indian people say that that's actually how it is. And it's tough. It's really, really tough.
Yeah. The counselor then is like, oh yeah, if you want to be a paramedic, then you get to go on this field trip with us to the fire station, because in our county, like, the fire station and the like paramedics work out at the same place. And I was like, why did they script need this specific detail?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm fine with it.
I don't know. I mean,
I guess they had to establish some home base for the paramedics.
And some...
And like, that is normal.
Yeah, but why wouldn't it just be at a hospital?
I don't know. It's weird. It's fine. It's weird. And then the counselor goes on to be like, yeah, you'll meet with, whatever his name is, Scary Man.
Yeah, Scary Man McScare you.
Yeah. And the fact that just like, and you can argue that like maybe she's got a computer in front of her with
Yeah.
all this information. And as soon as he said paramedic, she pulled this up. But there's also this weird thing where I'm like, does Mrs. Henderson just know the name Steve Isaacs like offhand? She's just like, oh yeah, it's a small town. You'll be going to talk to Steve Isaacs. And also there are a million kids at the Odyssey Middle School who are interested in being paramedics. They'll go with you.
Yes, or firefighters.
We
which
already
is why,
have-
Why wouldn't it just be in a hospital? There's so many more professions you can talk to. I'm sure there are more kids that want to be in the medical profession than want to be firefighters.
Yeah, I mean, linking, but the first responder thing of like linking paramedics and firefighters is
makes sense.
pretty typical. Like that's not like weird Odyssey writing specific.
No,
it's just
no.
weird that they specifically address it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Or maybe there's some tea there that we don't know about. Some headcanon stuff. Maybe a flirtationship.
Oh, you mean the
paramedic
Mrs.
and the
Henderson
school
and
counselor.
Steve Isaacs are having an affair?
Yeah. I mean, that's presuming they're married.
Her name is Mrs. Henderson.
Could just be a term of respect.
It could. Do you expect that from Adventures in Odyssey?
No, and I wouldn't respect her much if she was having an affair, so maybe she should be called Miss either way.
All right. So yeah, we then jump to Lawrence watching television rather than doing his science homework, and his mom just being like,
You need to do your homework. And he's like, I don't want to do my homework.
right. And that's, yeah.
And that's just it.
I know. It's so, yeah. This episode is
He thinks science
odd.
is a waste of time. And then I don't get it. Maybe in the 90s there was a big conservative movement amongst the conservative culture that math and science weren't cool. But I always felt like growing up that math and science was the subjects that all the cool kids liked, and all the nerds either didn't care about school at all or they liked history and reading, which I loved history and reading.
I think that there is a general perception, especially that is displayed in media, of math and science don't make sense and are boring.
Yeah, and we just have computers that do all this anyway, so why would we?
Well, yeah, and I think that's even the more modern version of it. But like, I feel like that stigma, I mean, that's why like STEM is such like a big thing that it gets pushed, is because like they're trying to overcome this stigma that like those are like, yeah, I don't know, those are less desirable or interesting things to do, and it's just kind of boring, busy work and all of that stuff that goes with it.
Well, if that was a thing, it certainly worked for me because I have so much respect for science and math.
There you go.
Math is the thing that I wish I could do that I can't, and science is the thing that if I work really, really, really hard at, I can do it.
Nice.
Yep.
So
and counseling's just what I do for fun.
we then get a nice musical transition that I don't know. I like the music. That's
this whole episode,
yeah,
dynamite.
love me some John Campbell. We then have a scene of Jimmy in his room with a doll practicing mouth to mouth and CPR when Lawrence shows up.
Yep.
And I don't know, they just have an exchange.
Yeah. It's basically they're just complaining about how much they hate school and they think it's a waste of time because Lawrence doesn't want to do his homework because he hates math and science, and Jimmy doesn't like math and science. Math is math and science is science.
Yep.
And it's just like, okay.
Yep. Then we jump to the fire station with Steve Isaacs
Talking to children, and he's basically introduces himself by saying, if you're here just to have fun and help people and ride around in an ambulance, go home.
Yep.
And I'm like, whoa!
Uh-huh. These are middle schoolers.
Children.
Yeah.
You do not have to go to school for that long to be a paramedic.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, I do
that
find
is
it
a-
interesting that it's paramedics, too, who are, like, of the medical professionals, like, the least, like, it's the lowest bar to entry.
Yeah, it's that's a 2-year degree. It's the same thing as you can get your LPN, and then you can be an RN with 2 years. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
But they're even getting rid of that. Like, they're getting rid of RNs being only 2 years, and they're making it so it's mandatory 4 years. So, point is, paramedics, little school, don't make sense.
Yeah. So yeah, Jimmy is then, he gets his results, or like the results are like given to him.
Yeah.
Or like he's meeting one-on-one with Steve Isaacs and Mrs.
It goes
Henderson's
from like
there.
General Assembly
Yep.
to like weirdly like one-on-one file, like call me into your office kind
Right.
of style thing for like what do they call them? Field trips.
Yeah.
I wanted to call it school vacations, which is what they are. But that's not the word.
No, it's not. Maybe it's a better word.
Yeah.
If you're a teacher, adopt that.
I'll tell my sister. No more field trips.
School vacations.
That's the most homeschool thing I've ever said.
But it's not the most homeschool thing you've ever done.
That's true.
That would be starting an Adventures in Odyssey podcast in the year 2018.
Yep. Here we are.
So the paramedic then like gets Jimmy's results.
Yeah, and then
And he's like, okay, you're like bad at math and science. You gotta fix that, buddy. Also,
well, Jimmy's
like,
super awkward about it because he's like, well, I just wanted to, help people.
this is just like a recent thing.
This is a recent thing. And then
Yeah. Steve Isaacs is like, you're bad at math and science. That's important. And Jimmy's like, well, is it really? And he's like, look, I'm just going to scare you by quizzing you.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. And I'm like,
with questions that he makes it sound like he was taught and he forgot.
right.
Why the heck would he be taught that?
Right. Like, it starts out with just like basic math and then becomes like,
What's
you know.
hypertension? And I'm like,
Right.
Whoa, I barely
Yeah.
know the difference between hypotension and hypertension.
yeah, it's just right. It's obnoxious. He is like bullying this child in a way I don't like.
Yep.
And it's very clear he's just like trying to prove a point.
Yeah, no. It's just like he basically
Jimmy is a
says,
kid.
your fault. And then Jimmy's like, aw, man, it's my fault. But the whole point is that this is a child, and this is not how you communicate with children.
Right. And like Jimmy,
It's not effectively.
like, right. He's like, let me level with you. Like, you're going to have to do a lot to get to a point where you can do this. And I'm like, okay.
You could be a paramedic.
That's
2-year
not-
degree.
That's not like the worst take
Yeah.
of like, yeah.
You have to care
like,
about school to do
right.
things.
You should start caring about school. Like, there's a nice way of being like, look, man, like science will like benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some real life application that maybe you were never given in the past.
Yeah.
Instead, this man bombards Jimmy, makes him feel like an idiot and a child. Like,
Yeah, he's an 8th grader.
no, I'm saying, but like Jimmy then like talks about to his dad in a scene that we'll get to about like how much he just felt like an inadequate little kid.
Yeah.
And
No,
I'm
that's
like,
what they do. I mean,
Yeah.
and to the show's credit, they do a very good job of like giving Jimmy a voice for his feelings, which is really cool.
Yes.
I like that
Agreed.
a lot. And then having good parent discussions about
Uh-huh.
it, like that part, great.
Once again, like kind of glad Whit wasn't around for this one.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just get I don't know. It's very frustrating in kind of how it manufactures this sort of like, well, we've reached the crux of this episode, so just, kind of open up your hearts and take this really, really tough love-centered moral that we're just going to shove down your throat.
Right, and it was also like I am a math and sciencey person.
Exactly.
I couldn't answer even like the questions that were just math. were being thrown at you too fast to do that answer in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm, a proper adult. Like, it was really annoying. Also, it's stuff that he could just learn during training for being a paramedic, not stuff he needs to learn from school.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of, like, hey, you want a career in something that's, like, gonna require some knowledge, so you should put forward more effort in school, is in and of itself a good thing. Like, I like that message, but this guy is just horrible about it.
Well, and the thing is, in middle school, and I was thinking about this, like, developmentally, they're at a very different stage. It's not like what he's choosing to do is just basically throw away his life, play video games, do nothing, or do drugs, or do something like that. Like, when you think of people that burn out in high school, at least for me, it's typically people that either have really toxic home environments or have incredibly self-destructive habits. Right. And, like, they just don't, like, they either have, like, bad mental health, or they have bad home environments, or they have bad coping mechanisms.
This is a kid just not taking school seriously.
Because he's a kid. He's in 8th grade. Like, why are you expecting him to do this, and then why are you yelling at him?
Right, like, I wanna know what the conversations were with all of the other kids.
Exactly.
I wanna see an extended cut of this episode that is just this guy ripping into 10 children in a row in different and specific ways, and every time he throws out different rapid-fire questions. Because the one kid's like, oh, I'm great at math, but, like, I'm bad at writing. And he's like, oh, well, you'll have to write reports. Yeah. Do you know how to spell,
what's the
anesthetic?
Shorthand? Yeah. Oh, shit.
Like,
right?
How do you
spell anesthetic? A-N-A-E-S-T-H. Anesthetic. E-T-I-C. Anesthetic. Woo! I'm smarter than an 8th grader.
But just, like, I want that version of this episode.
I mean, it could have been the teaser.
Anyways, so yeah, we then jump to family dinner where Jimmy is dejected.
Yeah.
And just feels like, okay, well, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And
he's, like, very much, like, very clearly very upset about it, and the whole family's kind of just joking about it.
I was very frustrated with the family, and then, like, it gets better, but, like, it's Jimmy, and it's also, sibling ribbing and whatnot, but, like, it's Jimmy throwing out, like, oh, well, like, maybe I'll just run off with the circus and become a lion tamer, and Donna being like, you probably have to be good at zoology.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they go back and forth for a while until Jimmy says that he'll become a politician, and Donna's like, oh, yeah, fair enough.
And you're like, so that's the joke that these children are making?
I know.
That was, for me, I was like, wow. And especially at the emotional crux of the scene where he's like, I'm going to run away from home. Paul McCusker is like, I know. Now's the time to make fun of politicians for not knowing anything. But paramedics, yes, very intelligent. I mean, that's true. Politicians, a lot of times. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's classic, like, conservatives take a dig at politicians.
Yeah.
And then conservatives take a dig at politicians and then elect the least qualified president.
It's been a doozy of a decade for evangelicals. They went from, like, the height of power, being in charge of, like, a war that shouldn't have happened, to, like, losing it completely, and then just 2016, 2020.
We love it.
I guess that's 2 decades.
Wow, 2 decades. So then Jimmy leaves the table. And
oh, no. This is before the parents basically explain it to Donna, who's older than Jimmy and still doesn't understand what's happening. And then he goes, oh, I think you just got a cold dose of reality. And I'm like, am I just listening to Cheers? Like,
But,
what's
but
happening?
no, but George doesn't say that when Jimmy's in the room.
No,
Jimmy
no.
leaves the. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
leading up to that same line.
Oh, okay.
But it's Jimmy leaves the room, and then George is like, "Yeah, Jimmy just got hit with a cold dose of reality," and I'm like, "Wow, that was cold, George."
Yeah, that seems awfully.
Be nice to your kid who has been like traumatized.
Yeah, he needs some help, and then he does.
Yeah.
and then we get this basically
Jimmy,
delightful
they have a
laundry
conversation
room
in the
scene.
laundry.
And it's so good because the laundry machine is running in the background the whole time. Ugh. That.
We call it a dryer, but laundry machine works too.
Oh, wow. Those were the words. Man, we were talking before the podcast about how hard it is for me to speak coherently. And I just said laundry machine. Dryer. That was what it was. That was the machine name. It is called a dryer. I do know this. Ugh.
It's okay. So yeah,
It's a great scene though.
right? And now George is actually being like nice to Jimmy, and
Well, Jimmy's complaining about the dryer sheets and smelling
Yes.
like a lady.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, growing up, we never had dryer sheets, and I always like was so jealous whenever I would get clothes washed at other people's houses because it would smell so nice. Because my mom always used like all natural stuff that like was like super, we never used like Tide or anything like that, or any of the, downy stuff that you can just chuck in there and it makes it smell like cologne essentially.
Yeah.
We live in a wondrous age.
Truly. So yeah, and Jimmy's quote when you talked about earlier about him being able to like verbalize his emotions.
Yeah.
The line they give him, which is genuinely great, is him saying, "I felt like a kid who said he wanted to be a policeman because he wanted to drive fast with the siren on."
Yeah.
And that perfectly encapsulates
The feeling.
the emotion that you get from him earlier in the episode.
Yeah. And the emotion that I would think the audience would feel.
Right. And that thing that like I feel on his behalf during that scene.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, "Oh, like Jimmy like had passion about this and like had a reason, but also like wasn't confident and was a kid trying to figure things out, and this guy just basically treats him as like, come on, you dummy, like you're not actually cut out for this, you just like,
Yeah, you're not real. You're just fake.
you just wanted to drive fast with the siren on."
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's great. And then George opens up and is like, "Look, like I'm not looking forward to all of my classes. You think I want to talk about eschatology?" Like,
and hermeneutics,
like-
to which I was like, oh, you're right. You're right. I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
This is my life.
get Drew on the episode.
Yeah.
He loves that stuff.
He does.
But like, yeah, because I think he even says something about New Testament Greek, and I'm like, oh boy, where's Drew?
Yeah.
His favorite topic. Don't get him started. So,
Please, don't. Whatever you do.
but yeah, it's this tough thing of
He breaks down. So like
Right.
in the moment where his kid is vulnerable, he doesn't come there and be like, "Oh, you see, I have the answers." He shows that he's human as well and says, "Hey, I don't have the answers either." And therefore, like, you're not alone and like you're not behind everything. Because in that moment, what Jimmy's feeling is like everybody else is more equipped to deal with life than I am, and I'm not because of just the way that I am, and I can't help that.
Yeah.
And what he's learning is like, nope, it makes sense because my dad wasn't like super into that. And you can totally see like it's okay to live life one that's not fulfilled by academics or a job, which is something that I learned from my parents. And then like two, you can totally do it the other way and just be like, if you're super motivated to function in your craft and like get really good at it, like you can provide a lot of benefits. I don't know. It was just a really great family moment there that I really was able to connect with.
Yeah, it's good. And then we get it's George saying like, I want to be like, I don't, none of these things interest me. I don't want to do them, but I want to be the best at my job I can be.
Yeah.
And that means like, I'm going to persevere through this.
work,
It's
yeah.
going to take discipline on my part.
Yeah.
But like, I'm going to make it happen.
If that's what you want to do. Yeah, of course.
Right. Which is great. And then Jimmy...
It's the right way to tell kids to grow up. It's not to say to grow up and get your stuff together. It's grow up and just do what everybody else does. And that's just try your best.
Yeah. And the greatness then of George being like, I feel like I just broke like the number one rule of
Parenting.
one of the rules of parenting, which is like, don't tell your kids you don't like school. And Jimmy's like, well, thanks anyway. Like, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I like open and honest parent conversations.
It's so
like,
good.
It's so, I love it.
Yeah. But those pregnancy jokes, man, those are tough.
And then we have a final scene with Lawrence and his mom where she threatens to sell the television if he doesn't do homework.
Yeah, and he says that he'd rather be like tortured and like something about fire ants. He's just extra.
But I don't like science, Mom. In fact, I hate science. I'd rather have splinters pushed under my toenails and South African killer bees cover my whole body than do any more science homework.
Thank you for
That
writing.
can be arranged.
Yeah, just Joanne. Joanne does not care.
It's a great. I love it.
Joanne just is like, no, you don't get to do this.
Yeah, and then Jimmy shows up, and Lawrence is like, "Oh, Jimmy, tell my mom how like stupid homework is. Like, get me out of this. Like, you're the cool older kid. Like, back me up." And Jimmy's like, "I was wrong. Go do your homework. I agree with her.
Yeah.
And if you'd like, I could tutor you."
Yeah, it's so good.
I like it
And he
a
ends
lot.
up functioning in a helping profession, which is what his dad is doing now, getting the job at the church and everything. Oh, it's just so great.
Yeah, the final, like these last two scenes of the episode, I think are the reason I like it.
Yeah.
Where the stuff leading up to that, I'm like, I don't love this. But I also like that, I don't know. To some extent, the point of the episode is Jimmy is going to need to do better at school.
Yeah.
To, like, if he wants to be a paramedic, which is kind of frustrating. On the other hand, like, I'm glad that that's not the emotional crux of the episode.
Yeah, they made it not about being a paramedic and more about just being, like, doing anything.
Right.
Just if you want to do a thing, you've got to do other things, and sometimes you have to do things you don't like to do to do the thing that you do want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that the way that they went about it, by making the parents vulnerable with the kids, it just, it makes a good dialogue that really makes up for the fact that we had a paramedic verbally assaulting a child in one-on-one.
Yeah.
That was really tough. I was like, oh my gosh, why is he doing that?
Yeah, it is just, it's a good...
I was just saying, I feel like this is a solid 8. I think 75 was too low. I think 80 is a good... 80's how I feel.
Yeah, and we all know that I don't rate episodes.
Never.
I just say, like, didn't like, love, hate.
Hate. Modesty is the best policy.
A lot of Maury episodes.
More episodes. That's fair. Secret of the Writer's Ruse, anyone? Anywho, do you have any other closing thoughts?
Actually, I think The Good in People is the one I dislike the most.
That's fair. That is fair. That is definitely my second least favorite.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say regarding the episode.
Yeah, me neither. And do you have anything to promote?
I don't have anything directly to promote. I just figured, hey, we're doing a new series again. Might be a nice time to once again remind people that if they want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or another place, we always appreciate that. It's cool. it, people see it and see, hey, this podcast has 5 stars. Maybe I should listen to it.
Yeah.
But also, like,
I do.
It makes me and Andrew feel good about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you're in the US or Canada, just leave it on Apple Podcasts. If we'll find it there and read it out on the show. If you're in another country or you leave a review on a different platform, just send us an email, tweet, Instagram, DM, whatever, to let us know that you've left a review and where you left it, and we'll go find it on that place and read it out. There's too many places on the internet to leave reviews for me to check all of them.
Especially podcasts.
But US and Canada ones, I'll check directly and we'll read them when they come out. Otherwise, just let us know.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I left a review on
We just need
so-and-so.
to add Spotify until they incorporate leaving reviews in there, because
I mean, we do get a lot of listens on Spotify.
Well, it's bonkers that there isn't really any ratings.
I think it's just because they're trying to do everything purely algorithmically.
Yeah.
But
which is
yeah. Anyways, that is neither here nor there. So if you'd like to do that, we would appreciate it. If not, whatever, we still like you.
Yeah, it's true. You can still hang. It's okay.
Yeah. And we will be back. Oh, I assume you've got nothing to promote?
No. Okay. No.
All right. Then we will be back in a week to talk about episode 268, Pet Peeves.
Hey, bye guys.
Bye.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or focus on the family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at wadfamchalkpod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Making the Grade was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.